Yo, what's up, team? Welcome. This week, I really wanted to talk to everyone about managing your training. So, staying on top of your training, a few tips and tricks that we can try to focus on whilst we're going through this new training program, and just things to look out for as well, I guess. With the new training program at the moment, as I said at the beginning of the training program, there are a lot of new movements. We're doing a lot of repetitions, okay, so there's a lot more volume, but we're also repeating some of those movements quite frequently as well, and there's a reason behind this too. So basically, when we go through this, just try to keep an open mind about what you're doing. Sometimes people can get a little bit defensive because they might have done things in the past that works for them, and this might be different to something that you've done before. So anyways, if you have questions, do not hesitate to ask. I love questions. It also helps me to have a clear, open mind as well, and to think outside the box so that we can provide you with everything that you feel like you need so you can improve. Okay, so that's what this is all about. It's trying to find ways to continuously improve. So, one of the main things, well, I've got a couple of notes here that I'm just going to flow through and then just give some examples and just touch on some small points throughout these notes. But one of the main things is just preparing well before your session. This includes a range of different things, from getting your gear ready, preparing yourself mentally, and understanding the session that you're about to go into as well. This is why I've tried to keep on top of putting up the screens the week before, or at least on Sunday or Monday, so you can start to try and prepare for your whole week and have a clear understanding of what you're doing on what day, what you'll need, and then also mentally prepare for that session as well, especially because some of them are quite hard. So making sure that you've got all your gear that you will need. Right, if you forget your water, or if you forget like having a snack beforehand, or you forget like the right kind of shoes or whatever it is, that's why we need to know what we're doing in the session. Luckily for you guys, we have a format for the type of session that we're going to be doing. So on Monday, you know you're going to be doing a little bit of cardio. You know you're going to be doing some upper body. So if you need specific gear like wrist wraps, I don't know, maybe a weight belt. If you need proper shoes for when we do the cardio part, whatever it is, just making sure that you understand what you're going to be doing on that day, so you've got all the right gear ready to go. Same on Tuesday, we're doing mainly legs, so it's pretty much all legs. So if you need your weightlifting shoes, all those types of things. Wednesday is always going to be cardio for the next 7 weeks at least, and then Thursday's upper body again. And then Friday, we have that whole body session. And then obviously Saturday is always kind of different, but usually follows a cardio type trend. So knowing that you're going to be doing those particular activities on those specialized days is really important, so that you know what kind of gear you're going to need to bring through, because it sucks when you forget the right kind of gear. The other thing is eating enough food. If you are purposefully at a calorie deficit, then you are going to struggle. All right, there's no doubt about it. Even if you feel good coming into the session, later in the session you probably might hit a wall a little bit. Really depends on your deficit, how long you've been doing it, if you started to adapt metabolically yet. There's a whole range of different reasons. If you are not on a calorie deficit and you don't mind too much around like manipulating your food to try and help you lose weight, things like that, then you need to make sure you're eating enough food, okay? If you're coming into sessions and then partway through the session you just feel like you've got nothing left to give, that will be something to do with your carbohydrates, okay? So you need to make sure that you're eating some carbohydrates beforehand. For most people it's about 30 grams of carbohydrates, so it's not a lot of carbohydrates. It's kind of like a few biscuits or like a scone or a muffin, something like that's real easy to kind of get into the system really quick. Something with high glycemic index, which means it absorbs quite quickly. Those are really helpful to have for the session. If you're doing keto or anything like that, you just have to be mindful that your body's not going to have as much carbohydrate in the system, much glucose in the system, so you're going to probably hit a wall in some of the high intensity sessions. So you just have to expect that. There's not really any two ways around it, because that type of energy system doesn't work the same way as having ready to go glucose in the liver and in the muscles and in the bloodstream, and usually it's decreased quite a lot because you use ketones instead. Your body will still create carbohydrates, or I guess glucose, and then utilize it, but it'll usually go to priority based areas of the body, like your organs, and organs that can only function with glucose instead of just fats and protein. So anyways, I digress. Eating enough food is really important. If you're feeling a little bit low and you don't have diet restrictions, try just eating some sugary carbs before you train. Just a couple will do, and usually it'll pick you up. The other thing that you could probably do is just have more carbs throughout the day. If you have more specific questions around how to do this, maybe just message me. Otherwise, we might be here a little while. So anyways, eating enough food is going to help you heaps with managing your training. Getting enough rest. Okay, so between your sessions, we need to make sure that you are resting for adequate amounts of time, especially your sleep. Sleep recommendations seem to be somewhere between 7 and 9 hours. So it really depends on what you have available. Most of us have up to 8 hours available, but if you don't and you're a shift worker and things like that get in the way, you just got to do your best, right? It's quite hard. The other thing is you can use active rest on your off days. So if you have Sunday off, even if you have Saturday off, try to make sure that you're still active, but just have low activity levels. So something like a light walk and a couple of light stretches would be good to get some good blood flow, and it'll help you to recover a little bit faster than if you were just sedentary and sat on the couch all day. And then the other thing with your rest is try not to train too much. I know it's really hard. You get excited about the session. Sometimes people want to come through to 1, 2, 3 sessions a day, which is great. And I understand that. But you would probably want to do what Tanea has been doing. So she's been really clever, and she's come to some sessions and she kind of does one whole session, and then another session she'll do just kind of like a little bit, and she usually uses that other little bit of training to warm herself up for her rehab, and then she does her rehab, which is very, very clever. Take care of her body, and she's actually recovering really fast from a calf injury that she had. So that's an opportunity for you as well. You don't always have to go hardcore to be hardcore. Like that one, eh? Altering the session based on how you feel. Okay, we're not going to feel great every day. We're not going to have great sleeps every night. We're not going to eat the right way all the time. Some days are just going to be trash. So what you got to do is make sure you still turn up and get your session in, but you got to pull on the reins, and you got to pull your head in and leave your ego at the door. And just accept the fact that it's not going to be as hard of a session or as hardcore of a session as what you might have done in the past. Okay, and that's not important. What's more important is trying to make sure that you're continuing to move. You're building movement familiarity by doing the movements that we're doing, so your body stays used to it. And sometimes what you might find is if you're feeling real gross and a little bit sluggish, once you get into that warm up and start getting through some of the movements, you actually feel better. So give it a test. Even if you come in and you don't feel better after you've warmed up, etc., you can just keep everything light. Let me know, look, Kaz, I'm feeling absolutely drained today. I'm just going to try to do my best. And, man, I'm not going to push you. I'm not going to get in front of your face and be like, nah, that's not good enough. I'll just try and help you, and we'll talk with each other as we go through the session. So it's fine to alter the sessions based on how you feel. What's not fine is stopping altogether. I don't agree with that. For example, my dad last week, he did like a full week of training, and then he got to Thursday and he was like, Kaz, I'm feeling super, super sore today. I'm just going to go do some yoga. And I was like, bro, that's great. Stay active. So something like that as an alternative. I know some people go for walks up the mount. Some people go for a walk along the beach. Anything that gives you activity level, a moderate to low activity level, so you still keep moving, that's going to help heaps. If you can, get into the gym and do your workout, but just keep your volume low, your load low, and just try to get through the session and stay familiar with what we're doing. And then the last basic thing is just taking care of niggles and being smarter rather than tough. This goes back to what I was talking about before with Tanea and how she has been looking after her injuries. Rehab is very important, okay? Going to see your physio or whatever practitioner that you go to try and help manage your injuries is really important, okay? Not just for your physical health, but your mental health as well, right? It's going to really help to have a plan. digressing a little bit, when me and Adi get pushed up against the wall and feel like, oh, something's not working, this is really hard, I don't know what to do, we sit down and we plan, and we feel so much better after doing so. So if you are feeling like that with some of your training, if you are feeling like that even just with your general life and some of your lifestyle habits, have a sit down, put it all out on the table, and start plotting and planning. What am I going to do to create changes that are significant so I don't feel this way? Because most of the time, it's just that you don't have a plan, all right, and that you're just not really sure. And the same thing goes hand in hand with your injuries, okay? So if you know what you're doing for your injury, you know where you're going, where you're heading, you're speaking with a professional and they're trying to give you as much help as they need, that's what you need to be doing, all right? If you get to the point where nothing's working, you just got to go talk to more and more people until you start to find something that's going to work for you, and then we start building on it from there. But make sure you try to create some kind of plan that can become really healthy habits for you so you can start improving and get back to your training. Anyways, guys, I think we're kind of getting out of that niggly DOMS period of our training. It's been a really tough 2 weeks. I know everyone's been training really hard, but just got to hang in there. Once we get through these DOMs and we're really familiar with these movements, you should start to feel a lot better after sessions. You shouldn't be as sore as what you were 2 weeks ago. Sure, you're going to pull up sore sometimes because there'll be a few movement changes that we have. And then obviously as your intensity starts to lift, that's kind of a change in your familiarity with what you've been doing. So there will be an adaptation to that as well. But we can still keep it quite progressive, and you should still progress before our testing comes around. Cheer team.